Well, some tough political news for the governor today as she continues to battle it out with state lawmakers. The state budget still not done. And a new statewide poll from Marist puts Hochul's approval rating at just 39%. 46% disapprove. Well, here's the caveat, though. Nearly 6 in 10 Democrats do approve of the job she's doing, and she's way ahead in primary polls. Well, this Marist survey also paints a picture of pessimism among most New Yorkers. When asked about the state of the economy, look at this, a whopping 64% said it's getting worse. Only 9% said it's getting better. About a quarter say staying the same. And add to this, more than 8 in 10 say the state is just unaffordable. Almost a third say they plan to leave New York in the next 5 years. Shawn Donahue is a clinical assistant professor of political science at the University at Buffalo, and he is here live with us tonight to help us understand this poll and kind of the political ramifications of it. Always great to have you on, sir. And I wonder if I can just start there with that top line of just how pessimistic New Yorkers are about the economy. I don't know if that is unique to New York, but for any politician at whatever level, that's got to be concerning.
Well, I think that one of the things that you might have to look into the numbers on that is that, when you would ask Republicans that, clearly they're not going to be very happy with the performance of Governor Hochul and how things are going. But also with Democrats feeling much more pessimistic about the economy nationally, that might be trickling into those numbers to make them quite as bad as they are.
In terms of the state of play in New York, we know that polls have long told us people feel like they're overtaxed. In many cases, people are moving to states with no income tax. This one says 32% of those polled said they plan to leave New York in the next 5 years. I don't think that's actually going to play out, but what do you make of that number?
Well, surprisingly, that number is actually down from the last time that the Marist poll had it by about 5 points. The fact is that, every 10 years when we have the census and reapportionment, since, probably since the 60s, I would think, New York has lost seats to other states in the country, particularly in the South and the West, and that's likely to continue. At the current rate, it was estimated that New York could actually lose 3 seats in the House of Representatives in 2032, which would also be a loss of 3 electoral votes as well.
Yeah, that has just huge implications for the state and certainly for the Democratic Party, which pretty much runs New York State. I want to ask you about this poll specifically with Governor Hochul. We just got some new numbers recently. She is far and away ahead in a Democratic primary. 2026 is expected to be a good year for Democrats, a bad year for Republicans. These numbers for her approval rating are really low, but should she really be worried about them or not?
Well, I think any politician should be worried if their numbers aren't very good. But as you said, she has a big lead over potential primary opponents. Of course, the thing is, potentially some of the people that are looking at running against her, Congressman Richie Torres, Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, don't have that much name recognition. With a midterm election looking like it would be against the party that holds the White House, which is usually the case. Even though her numbers are not good, I think you could definitely see her getting reelected in 2026. I think an interesting statistic to let you know, over the last 4 years, only one incumbent governor has lost re-election, that being the governor of Nevada in 2022. So it is really hard to defeat an incumbent governor, absent scandal, potentially if people think things are going really badly, or if there's some bad climate or something kind of affecting the incumbent. Some of those numbers indicate that I think that you could have a more competitive race. But the other thing that we have to remember too is that as you were saying, Democrats have a big advantage in New York, and in a midterm election that may not go well for Republicans, we won't know until sometime next year. It does point to her having a decent chance at reelection.
In terms of who might run against her, we've talked a lot about a Republican congressman from the state, Mike Lawler. But another name kind of entered the fold today. The Wall Street Journal saying that Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who we thought was going to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations before that nomination was pulled by the president, apparently she is interested in running for governor. She obviously has a pretty big political machine behind her. She would have President Trump's support, obviously. What did you make of that news today?
I mean, I think that it is pretty interesting that she might be looking at a statewide run. Clearly, no Republican has gotten elected to any office in the state of New York statewide since George Pataki was reelected in 2002. I just wonder, in a state that where Trump did do considerably better in 2024 than he did in 2020, he still lost the state by 12 points. So, how much is being the Trump candidate going to help her in a general election? Clearly, it would help her in a primary, and she has a very strong fundraising machine. It may be an indication that she and there may be other people that might be interested. I've heard potentially Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. His name's been bandied about before. The more vulnerable an incumbent is, the more likely that you'll start seeing more people, kind of smelling the chance to potentially get elected. But like I said, being the Trump candidate, very good in the Republican primary, but in a general election in a Democratic state in a midterm that may not be good for that party, clearly would help with turnout. But I don't know quite how that would work. I mean, it didn't work for Lee Zeldin, even though he got closer than expected in 2022.
For sure. Professor Shawn Donahue from the University of Buffalo. Professor, thanks so much. Good to see you.
My pleasure.